The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Less than a week in office, and tonight the Davis administration is under pressure as speculations concerning a downed aircraft last week intensifies. Also tonight, F&M Deputy Shannon Dawn Cartwright speaking out, not on his loss last week, but on the size of the Davis administration's new cabinet. Tonight, both the government and the opposition swear in their Senate picks. We hear from some familiar personalities, and later tonight, the focus is on two of the Davis cabinet ministers. Was there a law broken to facilitate their appointment? It's all straight ahead tonight. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Explosive allegations and newly unsealed U.S. court documents are now casting a shadow over one of the country's most powerful institutions. From the halls of Parliament to claims of corrupt public officials, U.S. authorities are now digging into allegations that could have serious implications right here at home. We get the story from Linton Ritchie Jr.
A house built to serve the nation and long regarded as one of the country's most sacred institutions, the House of Assembly is now at the center of shocking allegations emerging from U.S. court documents. According to those records, a meeting allegedly took place inside the House of Assembly in October 2024 to discuss an international drug shipment. Those present were said to include alleged criminal figures, a DEA confidential informant, and a sitting member of parliament. The gathering was reportedly recorded by the informant. The details surfaced Thursday in a 12-page affidavit filled by DEA Special Agent Michael Coleman of the agency's Special Operations Bilateral Division. The document outlines the case against Bahamian Jonathan Eric Gardner, who U.S. authorities identify as an alleged international drug trafficker. Gardner was taken into custody after surviving a plane crash on Tuesday. Photos attached to the filing shows what investigators say was a black cross body bag that remained in his possession despite the hour-long ordeal after the crash. Authorities say items recovered included a white envelope bearing the name of a politician. Though the name was redacted from court records, investigators claim the envelope contained $30,000 in Bahamian currency. They also say the name matches one reference in a U.S. indictment unsealed last year involving members of the armed forces. As for Gardner's background, court records show he is a convicted felon who was deported to the Bahamas in 2014 after serving time in the United States for federal narcotics and money laundering offenses. He was sentenced in 2006 to approximately 18 years in prison. 2 years after his return to the Bahamas, Gardner swore under oath in 2017 that he served as president and director of Top Notch Builders. That company later received a reported $34 million public-private partnership contract under the Christie administration to construct the 8 Mile Rock Administrative Complex, now named after the late Obadiah H. Wilscombe. However, corporate records appear to show that Top Notch Builders is owned by Paradise Productions Incorporated, with Samson Heald identified as the principal of that company. The structure appears to place ownership of the public-private partnership project under Heald, despite Gardner's role as president and director of Top Notch Builders at the time. Now, U.S. investigators allege Gardner later returned to drug trafficking activities, claiming he worked with a Georgia-based organization between 2023 and 2024 to move cocaine through the Bahamas into the United States, while allegedly receiving assistance from corrupt government and armed forces officials. Eyewitness News reached out to Gardner's defense attorney for comment, but had not received one up to news time. He's scheduled to reappear in court again on Thursday. Linton Ritchie Jr., Eyewitness News.
Minus one.
Well, this story is becoming more and more murky as people try to determine who's who and point fingers and try to sort of, I guess, uncover this themselves. You know the social media investigators. And please don't send me anything. Jeez, I'm not going to follow up on the gossip behind all of this and what all of this is. Let's stick with the truth. I want to get in right here with my panelists, Leslie Miller and Michael Turnquest. Gentlemen, this here certainly casts a shadow over the newly re-elected Davis administration. Nobody knows anything. No, there are no names being called. I understand that there's a name on some document, but again, nothing at all suggesting who, what, when, why, how. But let's just talk about the optics of all of this. Less than a week in.
You know, Shanique, there's a lot of speculation in terms of who did what, who the politician is. You know, and I am not one to speculate and tell. You know, I say you believe and trust in the process. You know, let it play out. But you know, at the end of the day, I always say in political parties, that's throughout. And I always tell people always say, "Oh, I'm going to go start a new party. You always have bad apples in any organization that you join. I don't care if it's a new organization. It's like you saying, I have 41 kids. And I need to try and keep all of them in line. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, some people have 2 and 3 kids and 1 or 2 fall off. You imagine trying to keep 41 grown adults in line. Some might have sticky fingers. Some might find ways to do whatever it is that they want to do. And it's very difficult. You know, at the end of the day, you know, it's saddening to see that somebody would do be so brazen to do such a thing in what we call the walls of Parliament. You know, one of our sacred places that, you know, Bahamians we look up to, and we say, you know, when you go and we put you there, we hope that you do the right thing and not go in there and do what we're hearing based on, you know, documents that, you know, things that we see in a document. Like I said, a lot of it is still speculation, you know, until things go to court and, you know, the truth comes out, and then, you know, whoever is found guilty, you know, I say let it fall with, you know, what happens, happens. You know, at the end of the day, you know, I have a child, one little child, and people are grown adults. You know, you live by your actions. So, you know, let it be what it be.
Mm-hmm. You know, it is most unfortunate that these damning allegations has perpetuated himself on our country less than a week after Mr. Davis and his organization won the general election by 52+% support of the voters in this country. He has a wonderful mandate to govern. And now this happens. When you consider the fact that the man was picked up on the day of election, he was going to Grand Bahama from Abaco, which is a 20-minute flight, I'm told. How the hell did he end up by Vero Beach? It makes you ask yourself, was this a setup? Really a convenient tool to bring out the voice that you can bring out upon our country? And the voice allegations that, when I hear about someone set up a deal in Parliament, who could be in Parliament with a member of Parliament? When would they be there? When Parliament is out, you cannot go back in Parliament. That's what bothers me. I mean, I've been in Parliament 15 years. We don't allow anyone to come inside the inner circles, the inner section of Parliament. You sit in those chairs. We can talk to you there, but I doubt if that person who they're talking about would have ever entered the steps and go upstairs to Parliament.
So this is
But
maybe
I think that, you know, the thing is, if they did, I mean, if there's any truth that they actually did walk in and have a conversation in relation to what, you know, what we've been discussing in terms of drugs, I think this is where, you know, as especially being a new term for the current re-elected prime minister, these are things that you need to get ahead of immediately. And whether it is that it means that, you know, I don't know how, like I said, I don't know how the process works, but at the end of the day, this is something that you just don't sleep and wait until, you know, you have to address immediately. Find out if it did happen and one of my members of Parliament, one of my members on my team, I would say, hey, you. I'm sorry, at the end of the day, it's time for a by-election.
And it'll show the Prime Minister to be a very firm leader. I mean, he has gained a reputation of having a heart for the people.
Yeah, he's not going to play no games this time.
And standing up when he needs to. Well, your legacy, sir, that you are now sort of trying to strengthen further in this term and this second term, certainly you don't want anyone and you both are very right, anyone casting any shadow on that, if there's someone who is indeed has making deals wherever they're making them or giving promises, then absolutely jump on it.
And you know what is interesting? We said on this show, all of us, over the last few years, that the saving grace for the PLP was Philip Edward Davis. That there was no hate for him. There was love for him. Unlike our other leaders who got run out of office. And he proved himself by coming back with another term. He's almost in line, as I said, maybe in the same paragraph, maybe in the same book with the late great Sir Lyndon.
Well, he went into the election with a 61% approval rating.
Yes.
A 61% approval rating.
And he got over 52.5% of the popular vote.
But I think it goes back again. I think, you know, we would have seen in the last, I would say, doing what we call, you know, the campaign, where certain things were done, you know, I think was mishandled. When we talk about, when you see the Free Nation, spoke about sovereignty of, you know, the nation and things that I saw.
Yeah.
I think this is now, you know, you press the reset button. And now certain things, rather than sitting down and letting things play out, sometimes you have to grab
You
the
got
bull
to
by
jump
the
ahead
horn.
of it, and you're right, because I'm surprised. Yes, gentlemen, I'm quite surprised.
And I'm sure he's going to step to the plate and do
No one has
exactly
released a statement on this matter.
what needs to be done on behalf of the
No
American
one
people.
has spoken
'Cause
to the
these
media
are
on
serious-
this matter.
No.
Yes.
No.
These are very serious.
Very, very
I
serious.
understand we're in the, you know, everybody's in the process where the, you know, newly appointed senators and things of that sort. But at the end of the day, it's business as usual.
It's business. The business of the country still
reputation
continues. By
is
the
at
way,
stake.
I'll tell you this. Here's what opposition leader Michael Pintard had to say on this matter today.
We issued warnings about the close relationship between members of this administration and characters that were of interest to police locally and internationally. So I'm not surprised. But the Bahamian people being fully aware or made a decision. This is not a new matter. They have not demonstrated an interest in the past. They have signed multiple contracts with persons who are of interest to the police locally and internationally. I don't expect them to do anything different than behave the way they've been behaving all along.
You know, it is amazing, you know. This man ceased to amaze me. When he was in government, as a minister in the government, they could have broken the contract that reportedly this man had to put up that building in Grand Bahama. They did nothing. They continued the contract. Now he's accusing the Davis administration of something. But they continued the contract.
Hold on, slow down. What you say?
The man got the contract apparently in 2016 to put up the building. The F&M won the government in 2017. And they followed through at it.
Which man of a contract?
The one who they're talking about, who's now locked up.
Who's now in U.S. custody?
In U.S. custody.
He had a contract
That
for...
he had a contract, one of his companies, to put up that structure. Okay, hell of a beautiful building. I visited the building when they named it after our good friend and brother.
Doesn't he
Obi
also
Westcott.
own a construction company that built some homes?
Yes, he
I think,
is.
as well.
Old
But you know,
Carmichael.
it goes back, I think, to one of the leaders, one of the observers who observed this last election. It goes back to campaign finance reform in terms of, you know, what certain things that we need to do in terms of where we take monies from. And I think that's something that, you know, looking at this particular situation, that's something that has to be seriously considered, because at the end of the day, I mean, even banks, even we have to look at, because at the end, I look at it, me being a businessman, and what the banks put me through hell and high water,
Just to open up
a damn account. But we have individuals, and this is what, you know, we just talk about, we have to think about globally, because at the end of the day, these individuals still go, they open up accounts, they do business.
Pep, right? Are you a Pep? I'm a Pep.
I'm still considered a Pep,
yeah.
even being only ran in one election, and they carry me. I fill out every piece of damn document. It takes me sometimes 6 months to a year to open up a business account in this country. But we get individuals who do business with the government. They get accounts all throughout, I guess, almost every bank, millions of dollars possibly, but the proceeds of what coming from where they are. But when you have men that are above board doing business, they take us through hell and high water to do business. But so it's just not even just, you know, when we talk about politicians or parties, you have to look at the banks also, because how is this money going through the bank? Accommodated.
Yes.
But you don't want to take, when I open up a liquor store, you telling me, oh, well, you know, this is high risk. What the hell you talking about high risk when you get people, you know where the high money coming from is high risk. But you got to take.
And retail.
Yeah, exactly.
and
So
sell it
Gentlemen,
retail.
gentlemen, I want to move this forward because we have not heard the last from the leader of the opposition. Get this, the appointments, the cabinet appointments of the Davis-led administration under fire, with leader of the opposition signaling that the government will be held to account. We get the story from
He needs to
Laurencia
be held
Smith,
to
and then
damn
I get
account.
your views
Hold
on
account,
the
listen. He needs to be
29-member
held to account,
cabinet.
man, please.
Leader of
Give me
the
a break.
opposition Michael Pintard sounding off on the Davis-led 29-member cabinet.
Be vigilant in making sure we hold this government accountable. Is the government clearly has silenced the backbench of its own party.
With only 4 government members left outside of cabinet, Pintard says it's not an appropriate situation.
One is healthy, robust discussion on issues and room for disagreement. And backbenchers are expected to hold the cabinet accountable to a large extent.
The team includes 21 ministers and 7 ministers of state, alongside Prime Minister Philip Davis, who has not been assigned a ministerial portfolio. Combined, the cabinet carries an estimated annual cost of nearly $1.9 million to the public purse. The Prime Minister earns an annual salary of $86,000. Cabinet ministers with portfolio receive $66,000 annually, while ministers of state earn $60,000 per year. Meanwhile, reaction online appeared mixed, with some viewers defending the size and the cost of the cabinet, while others questioning its long-term impact on taxpayers. One viewer noted in part, "I'm not with these progressive folks, but a simple math problem would show that's not a bunch of money per person per year for the posts they have. They're getting paid to do a job, and we can only hope they fulfill their commitments." Another said, "I don't see a problem with the cost. We're not a rinky-dink country, and we have to stop thinking and acting like one." While others were less supportive, one viewer writing, "We all have to pay for it one way or another." And another stating, "Get ready for more taxing. That will be back." The Davis administration faced similar criticism following the 2021 snap election after appointing a 22-member cabinet, including Minister of States. Existing law traditionally maintains that there is a 9-member cabinet, including the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, and Attorney General. Speaking Saturday during the final swearing-in ceremony at Government House, Davis defends his administration leadership approach amid global uncertainty.
We need all hands on deck. We also need the best hands on deck. At the beginning of our last term, some questioned the need to grow the number of appointments to the administration. However, it is because we took the approach that we did that we were able to make the kind of progress that we did, which resulted in a vote of confidence of many people invested in us.
41 members of parliament are expected to convene on Wednesday for the opening of the new parliamentary session. Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
The leader Shannon Cartwright is speaking out tonight. He's speaking out on the size of the Davis administration's cabinet. Take a listen.
He should speak out in his own.
We don't have the audio there, but we can, obviously he is disagreeing with the number. He says that the increased number of appointments could eventually, move the TP please you all, could eventually result in a higher parliamentary pension burden in the years ahead. The former deputy leader suffered a major defeat at the polls, you'll remember last week, losing his bid for re-election to political newcomer Owen Wells in the newly created St. James constituency. Leslie and Michael, your thoughts, because we have not met since the cabinet has been, the number has been finalized and everybody sworn in. You heard Michael Pintard, you heard Shannon Cartwright this evening. Your thoughts on the 29-member cabinet?
Shanique, I think it's a large cabinet. I'm not going to beat down on it, because at the end of the day, maybe this, I'm always open to something new, whether the things are done more efficiently, whereas though people are now focusing on certain areas and all hands on deck. Maybe the work gets done. We see more revenue in certain departments coming in.
More productivity.
It's possible, but at the end of the day, there needs to be KPIs set for these individuals, because at the end of the day, it does drive the tax. The money is coming from the taxpayers, We've spoken about, I saw the day we talked about the Golden Yolk program. I see where eggs now cost $3.16 for the Golden Yolk eggs and $1 something for regular eggs. These are things that I have an issue with, because at the end of the day we talk about bringing down the cost of living for Bahamians, and I think we spoke about that in terms of where there'd be certain things that happen.
Golden Yolk is more expensive than the regular?
Yeah, and so when we look at that, I am not. What's the reason for having it? Even I understand they are organic. I would assume, which normally organic eggs in the Bahamas cost $5 a dozen, somewhere around there. But at the end of the day, this still does not lessen the burden on the people's pocket walking in the food stores. I've said time and time ago that this current administration, there's some things that can be done differently in terms of to lessen the burden on people's pocket that people are going through on a day-to-day basis. So, we have to wait and see, but there's something needs to be done, and people need to keep their finger on the pulse in order to make sure Bahamians are living comfortably.
It is a increase in the cabinet members. I would hope that because of that increase, there would be greater productivity. There would be savings in other areas where people may think that waste would have taken place. That these new members in the cabinet would run their ministries more efficient, more effective on behalf of the Bahamian people, and that you would see some dramatic cutbacks in some of the things that is going on. For example, travel and what have you. We wouldn't want to see an increase in travel, that's for sure. And there's no reason why many other areas couldn't be cut and downsized to enable us to have a very effective cabinet that will work for on behalf of the benefit of the people. We should see, give them 6 months, then you could ascertain and assess the productivity on what has happened over that period of time.
Well, the Bahamian people certainly have high expectations. They showed up in goodly numbers to re-elect this administration, and so with the cabinet size the way it is, on 29 members, state ministers and substantive ministers, let's get busy.
Go to work.
To the work and get the
done.
work of the people done, so that this country can continue moving forward. That's exactly what they want. Beyond the Headlines is back right after this.
Hey, it's your boy Charlie Bahama here at Superwash, Superwash's newest spokesmodel. And I'm here to tell you about Superwash's large capacity washers and dryers for all your big loads.
I know I see that Charlie Banana coming here just now.
Uh-oh. Luckily, it's also big enough for me to hide it.
I thought he was right over here where these large capacity washer and dryers is. They're big enough now to handle your big loads, Yeah, like your comfort on your blanket. Well, just look at us. Somebody forget to turn on the dryer. Oh, stop! You hear something? Yeah, that's the sound of clean. Superwash washes you, process you, and entertains them 24/7.
My name is Charles Wesley Rowe. My organic farm is Nice Layers Organic Farm. I have 230 birds up here. I give them fresh water, pumpkin, lettuce, cabbages, all the vegetables. Anything what I eat, they eat. Right now, we sell the eggs for $7 a dozen from Monday to Friday. On Saturdays, you can get 4 dozen eggs for $21. I'll be located on Jamaica Road, the western side, Silverstone Primary School.
Did you know that when you shop at cbsbahamas.com, you can see directly into our vendors' warehouses? What that means is even if we only have a dozen of an item available in store, you can order virtually as many as you want directly from our vendors and have it delivered to your doorstep in just 10 to 14 days. You don't have to worry about shipping, imports, duties, or any of the hard stuff. Our back order program is unique, and it's only at cbsbahamas.com.
The house is quiet and the day is done. Almost. Just one last task to make sure tomorrow starts off right. With the complete Sueno line, just a touch of softness, a boost of scent, and a lot of love. Because nothing feels better than a fresh start. Sueno, for every moment in between.
5 cars, catch the keys, don't blink, take these.
Island Luck is giving away 5 brand new cars. Earn 10 reward points for a chance to enter and win. Enter weekly from Monday 12 a.m. to Sunday 2 p.m. Winners are announced Sundays at 3 p.m. on 103.5 The Beat and Island Luck Socials. 5 cars, 5 weeks. The more you play, the better your chances. Visit islandluck.com for more information. Catch the keys only at Island Luck. Must be 18 and over. Island Luck reminds you that it's only a game, so please game responsibly.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. I thank you all for participating. We do have some discrepancy on the cost of those eggs. We see some official signage saying that the golden yolk or some egg is $3.19 versus another one. Not quite sure what that is, but I'll tell you this. I will find out for you and get to the bottom of it. It seems to be from the leading food store chain here in New Providence. Meanwhile, though, let's move this along. The final group of Progressive Liberal Party senators sworn in today at Government House, formally filling all 12 senator positions. Governor General Cynthia Pratt presiding over the ceremony, signing off on official documents as each appointee took the oath of office. The final group includes Lachelle Adderley, Chan Major, DeSanti Small, Kevin Simmons, Clint Watson, Keno Wong, Latrey Raming, Robin Lyons, and Keenan Johnson. Meanwhile, veteran broadcaster Clint Watson also responding to criticism while with some questioning his political affiliation while serving as general manager of ZNS prior to entering frontline politics. Watson was appointed to the Senate, describing the moment as the result of patience, perseverance, and a commitment to public service.
Added to that. We came to an election cycle, election season. You haven't heard from any of the opposition parties criticizing ZNS for biasness. I'm an example that if you be patient and you stay in the will of God, what he has for you will come to you in due time. This is that for me. I didn't ask for this. They saw something greater in me. It was about my deportment, I believed, how I handled what I went through. And I always said it to people, be very careful how you handle disappointments. You either use it as opportunities or you can use it to become sour. I chose to use it as opportunity. I stayed focused on what my mandate was, knowing that the right thing for me will come with the right opportunities. Will the opportunity come around again? I sure hope so. Will I be ready? Definitely will.
Newly sworn in Progressive Liberal Party Senator Latrey Raming pushing back against concerns that his appointment to the upper chamber presents a conflict of interest as he continues to serve as Director of Communications in the Office of the Prime Minister. Raming confirmed he is currently holding both positions and says he's not been informed by Philip Davis of any plans to replace him in the communications role at this time.
It's currently still the Director of Communications, but I see it as an extension of the government's voice. Most certainly, it's been a grueling 5 years as Director of Communications, but I'm excited for the new tasks that the second term has to offer and continue to make not only the Prime Minister proud, but the Bahamas proud.
Well, gentlemen, I want to bring you both in. Let's talk about those two appointments right there, Clint Watson, Latrey Raming. Thoughts on how the Senate is already shaping up from the government side?
You know, I think it's an interesting pick of individuals. I mean, I think you know, some of them, some I know, some I don't. You know, I mean, you would think that, and you see this in political parties a lot of times. Those who might have not been elected to run, who might have put themselves forward, sometimes are placed in the Senate. You know, and I think, you know, some of them, you know, to get them ready for, you know, who knows, maybe next election. But you know, like I said before, I think it's a good slate of senators that I think would represent, I guess, the current administration. I guess, brilliant, you know, bright individuals. You know, some might make more than less because they hold a lot of government positions. But, you know.
You know, it is interesting. It's a good array of cross section of person and personalities that were sent to the Senate. I think the best one by far, in my opinion, was Jerome Fitzgerald, who has experience, who has expertise. I think he's going to do a wonderful job of having people in his position as Minister of Economic Affairs, because he was very, very successful as the Minister of Education. So he has that experience in the background to do the job properly. Clint Watson was a man who I think is unbiased, no matter what they say. His protractors with regard to him being at the helm of ZNS. He's now back in the office of the Prime Minister. The same thing with Latry Raming, who I think is a fine gentleman and should do the job well. It's just a cross-section of new personalities that we never imagined would have held these positions, you know. And I look at the makeup of Parliament on the PLP bench and the makeup of them in the Senate as the future of the Progressive Liberal Party. I think Mr. Davis was sending a message. You guys are the future. We're on the way out. You're on the way up. Let's see how you perform. I'm giving you this opportunity. You either succeed. If you fail, I can get rid of you pretty quick. So they have a standard that they have to live up to, and I hope that they do what is necessary on behalf of the Bahamian people. Those in the Senate as well as those in the Parliament.
In the House, of course. Well, Leslie and Michael, it gets even more interesting. Upon the recommendation of Leader of the Opposition, Michael Pintard, 4 Free National Movement Senator designates were sworn in at Government House. That happened this afternoon, complementing the PLP's 12 to create the standard 16-member Senate. Senate designates are Ellsworth Johnson, Orinthia Kumalafe, Trevor Johnson, and Rick Fox. Meanwhile, lone female FNM Senator Orinthia Kumalafe says, though smaller in number, the opposition's 4 designates unique strengths will hopefully make for strong opposition and valuable contribution on a range of topics and law that impact the country.
Oftentimes, persons see the Senate as a rubber stamp. Well, we intend for that not to be the case. I'm happy about the representation that we have on our side, the experience from Ellsworth Johnson, also the youth from Dr. Trevor Johnson, and what Rick Fox, who has an international perspective, brings to the table. And of course, being there to represent the female perspective, as well as everything that impacts women and youth and children. And so I'm very excited about the makeup of the Senate, not just on our side, but on the other side. And I expect that from the persons that we have inside the Senate, it will bring a stronger government. What we need right now is a very strong opposition. We are very aware of that, especially when you have such an overwhelming victory on the governing side. And so while we might be small in numbers, I expect that we are going to be mighty in our presentation and our presence in the Senate.
Well, newcomer to local politics and newly appointed FNM Senator Rick Fox details his plans, being a first-timer in frontline politics, noting his priority is communicating with opposition leader Michael Pintard on the way forward concerning the imminent opening of Parliament and budget debate. Fox says the Bahamian people can expect to see much more of him given the now permanent post.
Well, I'd first like to gather with my teammates, also take action and leadership from our leader, and making sure that we are in tune as we go into a very important stage of our year, the upcoming budget. We have this speech coming down from the Crown that we will debate as well. So as of right now, not running ahead, but being a first-time senator that knows how to take leadership and also be accountable to his team and the leaders that have put him in place. The role of being front-facing as a senator, I think it will obviously put me out in front a lot more than it has in the past and at home. I've been home for a while and not in any way avoiding the limelight, just moving as a private citizen. Now I'm no longer a private citizen, I'm a public citizen now, representing the country and the people of the Bahamas. So I expect that'll come with the territory. We'll spend more time together in the coming days, weeks, years, and that's fine.
Gentlemen, there's exactly how the Senate shapes up. Your thoughts on how this brand new Senate is shaping up to look? Of course, we know who else we have, but they're the Free National Movement senators, Rick Fox bringing up the rear.
You know, Shanique, the reality of it in the FNM, you know, I think the current Senate would be a short-lived one. I mean, I think the FNM still has a bigger, I guess I call it the elephant in the room that they need to address, and that's the leadership of the Free National Movement going forward. Yeah. If one would remember, the first thing what Michael Pintard did when he took leadership was he did away with all of the appointed senators that he appointed. And I think whoever is elected as, I go back and I've said it, I kind of made a post on Facebook a couple of days ago, which has gotten a lot of traction from F&Ms. When we talk about leadership by default, I think the F&M is in a very peculiar position where they need to be very, very strategic in how they do select a new leader going forward to make sure to be one that's, how could I say it, resonates with the masses, one that basically does the same thing that the current leader of the country does on a daily basis and moves around and intermingle with persons, whether it be at a local bar or underneath the tree. They have to be very, 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 very strategic selecting a leader. But this I believe, a lot of F&Ms have issues with what some of the senators who might have been selected. Mm-hmm. I don't have issue with me personally. I don't have issue with all. I think some slap in the face to those being.
Well, who do you have issue with?
You one look at the young Komalafi. You look at persons like Shannon Norton Cartwright. Some might say, why isn't the deputy leader sitting inside the Senate?
Why?
There's a lot of other, I would say, polished. And right now you need persons, when I say polished, experienced, who has been there, who has done to go and fight inside a Senate where it's only four of you.
But gentlemen now, Komalafe is no stranger to politics. She may have hopped around a bit, but
I'm referring to internal politics. And when I talk about she is a newcomer to the F&M, which persons will see issue. I don't care where it is. There was some issue.
So is Rick Fox.
I didn't finish in terms of my selection.
Go ahead.
Persons are going to see. Some person's going to have issue there. There's a lot of persons, when I say seasoned politicians, which is what we need now going into what you call, it's like you going into a wasp nest with such a small number of individuals. You need, I guess people call it.
She seemed quite eloquent in speaking just now. Now, yes, it was
I did not.
She seemed strong. She seemed certain and sure of herself.
Shanique, I'll be very. Eloquent speeches didn't win the F&M, this particular the government. Eloquent speeches and this, that, the next. People are looking right now. When you look at the leader, when you look at the opposition, you need. I wouldn't say radical. We don't need people coming in and throwing blows. But at the end of the day, you need persons who are able to get down and basically get down with the grassroots and make sure they understand the issues that are being tabled, and be able to walk among the streets and explain to them what's going on in the House. But this is where you need to get down to the masses. You need to make sure when you table or when you speak every day, you speak for the people of the Bahamas and not just the people up there. The eloquent speeches don't cut it no more. That's just the reality.
The leader opposition, I am convinced now, is never going to get it. He decimated the F&M and he got rid of Minnis, especially Bannister and those fellas who were decent people. He eradicated all of them out of the party. How could you, knowing that you only have 4 members to pick, you're not going to pick your deputy, man? Shannon Dorr was one of the backbones of the F&M, and you just throw him on the side. How is that possible? Again, it shows you that this man has a streak in him. I told you from the beginning, 4 years ago, the only politician in this country I've ever been scared of was him. My cousin, I'm scared of him. And he comes through every time to make me scared of him, man. What would he do to the average fellow who cannot defend himself? That's what scares me with him. This guy got a viciousness that is beyond imagination. Beyond. Okay, but the people spoke on the 12th. They run him out of town. He's back in town. And it's up to the F&M now to get him out of their place and replace him with a leader that would be on par with the Bahamian people.
But it goes, and I've said it before, F&Ms need to stop sitting in the corners and hiding, and at the end of the day, come to the forefront. I don't care. You don't have to sit in, I call it in council. Social media is where people go now and they're expressing. You have to go out and speak, and people got to say what it is that they want and how they want to see the party moving forward.
This is the guy who lost 3 straight, 2 by-election on the big one. That's 3 straight. And he's still there as a leader.
At the end of the day, no supporters want to continue taking the type of cut-up that the party has continued to take over 2 terms. None. At the end of the day, people are looking for 8 seats.
But you ain't got no fight with him, that's for damn sure. You ain't got no fight with him.
Well, I'll tell
But
you this, you all,
bring it back. We love that.
you think that may be a focus, and it is. It absolutely is, and people are paying attention to how the F&M will move forward and exactly the decisions they'll make. But people are also asking about two cabinet picks in particular in the new Davis administration. That story is coming up right after the break. Don't go anywhere. Beyond the Headlines is back after this.
Wealth should not only belong to a select few. At Investar, we believe the door should be open to everyone. We provide options for planning a better future. Our investment funds are designed to assist you in reaching your long-term financial goals. Let us show you how.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods, taste the difference.
Coalition of Independents leader Lincoln Bain speaking out against the Davis administration's decision to put the Department of Immigration as a subsidiary under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The decision came to light during the swearing-in ceremony for Darren Pickstock, who is now Minister of State for Immigration under the Ministry of National Security, which the substantive minister there is Fred Mitchell. The decision is being scrutinized as the Immigration Department remained at the center of controversy which political parties base their campaigns on and call for immigration reform. Bain believes the pairing won't help to rectify the issues that persist.
Putting the Ministry of Immigration and Foreign Affairs together is a conflict of interest. I don't think that the immigration should be with the same ministry dealing with passports, etc. I think that immigration, there's a serious crisis going on and we need enforcement. And that's a law enforcement kind of department. And I think that we wanted to put immigration with national security because that is a national security threat. Now, having it with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs That's very questionable to me, and I don't know how they're going to work it out or how they're going to justify it. But I don't think that should happen. We already have a lot of issues with our passports. Internationally, we're losing our reputation for our local documents. And so I think that's going to make it worse. And so we need to recommend that they fix that. I recommend that they fix that. Either leave immigration alone by itself or put it with national security.
However, with immigration now under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which also covers the passport office, Bain is hoping that the government will look into grave allegations of misconduct and those claimed by opposition voices.
What they should be doing is forming a commission of inquiry and having a real investigation as to what happened. We don't trust anyone who is dealing with this, and that's the real crux of the matter. And so, again, immigration is a crisis. It needs to go under national security, and we need to have a commission of inquiry because we just need to know what happened. This is not to criticize the government, but we need an inquiry to see what's going on. Then we can know how to fix it. But the fact that they're not even trying to do an investigation into this, that's very concerning.
Now for perjury, you know. You all forget.
Michael and Leslie, your thoughts on immigration being a substantive ministry on its own, or as it's placed now under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Under the Ingram administration, this happened before. I think when, I think it was the Honorable Brent Simonet and Granville McCartney, when he was the Minister of State. And I think, I don't know what happened there in terms of, the personalities, but when Granville was there as Minister of State, and that was his main focus, to focus on immigration, there was it was a shakeup. Things were getting done. People felt as though, they were finally getting, momentum. And then something happened. Nobody knows. We can, go on in terms of what they thought happened. But I totally disagree in terms of, if there's a minister of state to focus on that ministry, whether it be making sure the investigations happen in terms of who is giving out work permits or how people are spending, whatever. But there needs to be someone there focusing completely on, as this administration is looking as though they're doing. And once he is given, and I think he's headed by a seasoned politician, the Honorable Fred Mitchell. And I think once he's giving his mandate in terms of what he needs to do, what he needs to look out for, he can go in there and really start digging and finding out what's going on and where the loopholes are, and start, filling the gaps, or filling the voids. I think which needs to happen. And I think Darren, I know Darren personally, and I think, he is one, especially with the legal background that he has, he can go in there to assist and hopefully get, and get some things done. And hopefully we can get to the bottom of the issues that we've been having for so many years in immigration.
It's amazing that this man seriously believed that some government would take his advice to run a country. You really think so? Not in this lifetime. I pay no attention to him, and I'm sure the government pays absolutely no attention to him. Go pay the woman.
Maybe then you can pay.
Go pay the woman, for Christ's sake.
Maybe
Go
then,
pay the woman. That's all I got to say.
Maybe then you all are more inclined then to pay attention to this. Some of the
it happened before, like as Mike said.
No, but listen to this.
McCartney had the job and did a good job.
And he was a state minister.
Until he ran awry with Ingram, and Ingram got rid of him.
He was a state minister for immigration.
He did a wonderful job.
But this one has people's attention. Listen to this. Some of Davis's cabinet appointments creating more talk. Tonight, there are questions over where the law stands for two of the country's newest cabinet members. The appointments now drawing attention as some question whether the necessary legal and regulatory requirements were satisfied before those individuals took the oath of office. Jose Etienne takes a look.
Janea, not only is the Davis administration facing growing scrutiny over the size of its 29-member cabinet, but also over the appointment of two members who have long-standing ties to the gaming industry. Those appointments include Fort Charlotte Member of Parliament-elect Sebastien Bastian, who now serves as Minister of Innovation and National Development, as well as Seabreeze's Member of Parliament-elect Leslie Miller-Bryce, now Minister of Culture, Heritage and the Arts. But it appears the government took steps before those appointments were made to ensure they complied with requirements under the Gaming Act, as failure to do so could have raised serious questions about compliance with the law.
We would have done work with the regulator to ensure that we were compliant and met all of the regulatory conditions.
Bastian's appointment comes months after he stepped down as chief executive officer of Island Luck, one of the country's largest gaming operators. Documents filed prior to the election also revealed that Bastian divested his interests, transferring shares into trust structures and giving up control of the operation. That process was reviewed by the gaming board, which cleared the way for his appointment.
I'm confident that they've been satisfied, and any additional questions towards that, you can direct those to the Bahamas Gaming Board.
Unlike her colleague, Miller Bryce was not directly involved in the gaming industry, but her husband, Leander Bryce, previously served as chief executive officer of GLK Limited, operating as a Shore Wind. His resignation effectively removed a potential legal obstacle ahead of his wife's political appointment.
I feel great. We have taken the proactive steps necessary. We have engaged with the gaming board. And so we've done all that we can to follow the rules and the guidelines that the gaming board has put in place.
Now, under Section 25 of the Gaming Act, cabinet ministers and their family members are prohibited from holding gaming licenses. Section 26 extends those restrictions to certain other licenses and financial interests, including ownership of 5% or more in license holders. Some political observers now argue that the Prime Minister appears to be taking a different position from comments made last July, when he said there was no consideration to amend the law to allow individuals with gaming interests to serve in cabinet. In this case, however, no changes to the law were necessary. Meanwhile, the opposition maintains that the appointments should still be tested in the courts to remove any doubt.
The chairman and the entire caucus has spoken to the issue that it ought to be tested, and so we stand by that.
The gaming board has yet to publicly comment, though PLP attorney and newly appointed Senator Keenan Johnson says he expects the regulator to break its silence.
The gaming board is the regulator, and so it is my understanding that they're going to speak to that and issue a statement. And so, they obviously know exactly what is what, and so it's really them that needs to confirm and address that situation.
Now, Janelle, while government officials insist they've followed the law to the letter, critics believe the administration used the flexibility within existing legislation to clear the path for these appointments. For many, attention, though, shifts from eligibility to performance. For now, I'm Jose Etienne. Back to you, Janelle.
Talked about and being said about the cabinet appointments of Bastian, Leslie, and Miller Bryce. You all and Jose referred to a law. He referred to a number of areas in the gaming law, in the Gaming Act. But there's a portion in there that was amended since 2014 that sort of explain it, very technical language, but explain exactly how those two individuals could have been appointed to this cabinet.
You know, Shanique, I mean, I'm not a legal mind, or I'm pretty sure me and you read the same thing. I might come up with the same, I would say, understanding of what we're reading. But at the end of the day, I would hope that the government, would have, and those individuals would have done the necessary, take the necessary steps and measures before, whether be entering frontline or being appointed to the to cabinet. At the end of the day, that's something I can speculate, but without actually reading or knowing the law, I can't speak, intelligently on it to say whether, they did something wrong or not.
Both new members of Parliament went through the rigorous screening by the gaming board on the persons who run that particular unit. They had taken an amendment to Parliament some time back to broaden the scope of who could and cannot, because as the states now, they say no one in your family, no one associated with you. And they indicated, in fact, in the newspapers today, that they are satisfied that what was needed to be done was done. So I don't really see all the hiccups about it,
Yeah, well, people just felt as though, listen, hold up, man. Davis doing this to get Sebastian and whatever else, or Leslie now can get in because Sebastian's in, but not understanding that it was very technical and very, very, very intentional what these persons did in terms of divesting themselves and also being in line with the law, that gaming law, to ensure that they don't break the law to now sit in the cabinet of the Bahamas.
But what benefits could accrue to them in the position that they hold? Sabas, for example, he holds a very technical position that has nothing to do with the finances of the Bahamas. And I doubt if he could, I don't see it on Ms. Bryce is in a category where she's dealing with culture and the other areas that has no effect on the running of a government financially I'm talking about. Because I think all that criticism would be involved. Let's say if you had Michael Keatis, the Minister of Finance, running a gaming house and what have you. I think it's a matter that would be dealt with in due course.
Yeah.
Mr. Davis is a top-notch lawyer himself. He knows the act as good as anyone. The cabinet knows the act. Let's see where it leads. But I don't really see a problem myself.
Okay, I mean, I think that, at the end of the day, we all, when we think about gaming licenses and think about the moratorium that's been placed on it, and, at some point, I think that will be removed. And then more people start, if people decide to get into it, at the end of the day, you could have myself or you, we might decide we want to get into gaming and get a license, I don't think that should stop. If I get into gaming and start doing, what it is they're doing, I would hate to think that, that stopped me as a Bahamian to getting into, front line. At the end of the day, I think, these laws are always amended. And I think we need to look at all of our laws holistically in terms of some of these, antiquated laws that we have sitting on our books.
Many of them on the books.
And start doing the same, But at the end of the day, like I said, the legal minds, they let them deal with that in terms of, sorting out, who did wrong, who did right.
Yes. Well, gentlemen, listen, that wraps up our show for this evening. As we wrap up, though, with the 29-member cabinet and people paying so much attention to that, who are you looking forward to seeing them perform most? Which cabinet minister, whether they be state minister or substantive minister, who are you looking forward most to and the work that they are assigned to doing?
I think for me, I'm looking for ministers who hold key positions that are affecting Bahamians in terms of local, with that being, those that are that need more, whether it be tax relief or whatever it might be. Finance is one. Anything to do with inland revenue and taxes. How do we start reducing taxes on the backs of people and putting more monies in their pockets?
Yeah.
I think that's what's key for me for right now. Of all the ministries, at the end of the day, the others, it's kind of a pass through. So I think right now finance is the main one for me.
All of the ministers on journey as members of parliament and members of the cabinet would be reassessed within the next 6 months. Then we can discuss what needs to be done, what changes need to be made. But I'm sure that in their hearts of heart, they're there to serve the Bahamian people to the best of their ability. And let's wish them all the best on Godspeed. So, it is what it is, and we have to live with it. And their heart, I believe, is in the right place with getting our country moving forward.
Leslie and Michael, thank you very much. We had a lot of comments, people saying that they agreed with a lot of the sentiments that you both expressed this evening. And so I love when you all participate. It's good to have you just weighing in and offering your comments as well. Thank you so much for doing that. Meanwhile, thank you so much, Leslie Miller. Michael Turnquest, thank you as well. And to my team in the back. You all behaved mostly tonight, so that was nice. I don't think, Valencia, you stopped rolling once. That's all I'm saying, but let's do better tomorrow night. And meanwhile, though, for the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Everybody make it a great evening. See you right back here tomorrow.
Drive careful.